I disappeared again. We're not really going to spend a lot of time on it. At this point, it just is what it is. Anyway, if you're new here, I'm Katie. If you're not, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for still being here after I just like ghosted y'all for a couple months again. Anyway, so I meant to make this video in May, which was Mental Health Awareness Month, which I didn't know that was a thing until it was everywhere during May. And then I gave myself an anxiety attack because I didn't get this done in May. And then I was like, oh my God, I can't do it at all. And then I was like, that's dumb. Mental Health Awareness Month does not mean that mental health doesn't matter for all 11 other months of the year. And it's something I'm very serious about. And something I would like to speak more about. And so we're gonna start. I know I've talked about it in the past in other videos, but I'm trying to let you know now that I'm gonna like talk about it more regularly. That being said, I'm also gonna do my makeup while I do this, and I've changed the order in which I do things again, and I've yet to do that and talk at the same time. So you know, this is going to be awkward. But like, when was it ever not? And will it ever not be? No. I am like walking awkwardness, so it's just going to be. So yeah. Let's just like get fucking going. Okay, I'm going to start off with using the Tula skincare face filter. The bottle's disgusting, don't mind me. I am probably going to have to stop using this because I'm pretty sure it just always makes my foundation lighter. Darker. Dummy. Darker. Even though I use a lighter foundation when I'm using it, this darkens so much that I think it's just, it doesn't look as good as I think it does in person. It looks fine in photos as long as you don't look at my jawline. And also this little corner right here, I almost always end up leaving it out. I do also want to be clear and just say that I've realized that there is just no fucking simple, non-awkward way to go from talking about kind of a deep subject to, by the way, this is the eyebrow pencil I'm using today. So we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to tell you what I'm using, and it's just going to be what it is. So that's my new theme. It's going to be what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. It is what it is. If you don't like those sayings, this isn't the place for you. It could be if you would get rid of that, but that's up to you. Anyway, I have my little notes also. So if it seems like I'm one, distracted, I always am. And two, I'm probably looking down at my notes because I've learned with stuff like this, I just get really, I get lost and then I get derailed and then I feel stupid and then I stop talking and then it doesn't get done. So I went to therapy the first time about, 8 years ago. And I went because I was getting a divorce in my very last semester of college. Like at the very beginning of my last semester of college, I began going through a very ugly divorce from a very emotionally abusive human being. So it was just how many times can I say very? It was an extremely uncomfortable situation. And it was also the last semester of college. And so I went to my advisor, as you do. And she told me that, being enrolled as a student at Auburn University, War Eagle, I was entitled to 10 free sessions of therapy. And she strongly encouraged me to go for obvious reasons. But for a lesser known reason is that my professors could see that I was enrolled in counseling. Obviously, they would not be made aware of what I was talking about in counseling or what precipitated me going to counseling, except I did tell my professors because, like, obvious reasons you would want your professor to know that you're going through a divorce because it's obviously going to affect your daily life. So, and I promise I will go into more depth on that someday. I feel like the worst by being like vague, like that divorce that I keep dropping and just like not talking about. Yeah, I know. I do it. Anyway, so my professors would be aware that I was in therapy, and were I to start failing miserably, they could, without being told anything else, know that I was in therapy and go, oh, okay, she might be failing because she's going through something right now, and maybe I can give her some grace or some space or some points or some extra, or ask her how I can help. Whatever, it just opens up the avenues for conversation. And in any case, at the time, I needed to graduate, and I was willing to take whatever assistance that could get me there. So if that is going to therapy, even at the time when I purely did think I'm just going to go to therapy so that my professors pass me, that's not how that ended up happening. Just before anybody gets in the comments and is ugly, I went to college for 8 years, okay, and got a bachelor's, and like paid for it myself. And, well, I mean, about the student loan debt. Anyway, that's a conversation for another time. My point is that I worked through the last semester of college. I had help, which I needed desperately. And if that's a problem for you, can't care. Anyway, I went to therapy. I went to like 8 of the 10 sessions, and then I didn't go back. And then I kind of thought, problem solved. This is called foreshadowing. Problem wasn't solved. That was the NYX The Brow Glue, by the way. I'm also about to use the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. This is the shade Fair 120N. Anyway, so I had kind of thought of therapy as like a situation for acute situation, like acute life things, like a divorce, like a death, like an illness. I never really thought of therapy as a maintenance type thing. So yeah, since I didn't really think of therapy as as a maintenance type situation, and I only considered it in moments of acute like trauma, emotion, whatever, I never went back. I did that my 8 sessions, and then I never went back. And I just kind of thought, I'll know if I ever need therapy again because something will happen. As it turns out, therapy is just like, it's just a really useful thing to have. I also want to be clear. I know that therapy is not like broadly accessible either because there's just no one offering it in your area or because you can't afford it. And so I do want to be clear and say that that is incredibly unfortunate, and I am not in any way trying to imply that everyone should just go to therapy. Like, I'm not aware that some people literally cannot go to therapy either because there is no resource that they can get to, or they just can't afford it. So like, if you are one of those people, I'm really, 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 really sorry. And I'm not yelling at you for not being able to afford therapy. I'm more telling people that can afford and have access to therapy, use it. So just quick disclaimer, I'm sorry. So anyway, because I didn't think of it as a maintenance thing, I did not do anything about and I also did not realize at the time how bad my trauma was from my relationship and just other life things. I did not realize how messed up I was because in the moment, the relationship was so bad that just being away from it was like light years beyond being in it. And that alone improved my life so significantly that I didn't really, it took a long time for me to see that that was not the end of the problem. So because I didn't realize the damage that had been done to me, I did not also realize how much work I actually had to do on myself and my mental health and my mental standing and just my life. I had no idea the trouble I was going to face from not actually having faced my, dealt with all the things I had endured to the point that I went to therapy the first time. This is the NYX brow pencil, not brow pencil, NYX Lift and Snatch brow tint pen in the shade Ash Brown. So about 2 years ago now, I just kind of fell apart, to be perfectly honest. I was basically incapable of going a day without what I now know to be just like pretty severe anxiety attacks that I was just like kind of brushing off as like as though they were not as terrible as they, and like soul crushing and incapacitating as they were. And I was just having a really hard time existing. So I decided then that I really needed to pursue some therapy for myself. And I also decided these are going to kind of contradict each other for a second. So just like, let me have it. Though I kind of in my head knew I needed therapy, I also had kind of let myself believe that I was so specially broken that nothing could help me. Like I was broken in a very, very special way. I was, well wait, now, hang on, because I just kind of skipped over something that's kind of important. I was broken, first of all, and in a very special, completely unfixable way. And isn't that convenient? Because if it's not fixable, then there's nothing to be done. And that does, in a very strange way, absolve me of my responsibility to the situation, meaning myself. There's just nothing to be done. So what can you do? What do you do when there is nothing to be done? There is no solution to be had. Well, that's just not true. I told you this was going to be all over the place. I'm going to use the Kimchi Chic The Most Concealer as a eyeshadow primer. And this is the shade Light Beige. So even though I thought myself so like specially broken in an unfixable kind of way, I decided I was going to be brutally honest with my therapist so that she could tell me, you know, it's the whole point of having a therapist, right? She's the professional, I'm not. And I'm not in the habit of telling professionals how to do their job. So I was sure, though. I was going to stun this lady with how fucked up I was. And I also had decided to do that because previously I was, you know, there's so much stigma around mental illness and trauma and, you know, mental health that, you know, you don't want to be seen, even though, see, this is what I'm talking about. It just so contradicts itself in so many different ways. Even though I thought that I was so specially broken that I couldn't be fixed, I didn't want anybody else to know that. Like I didn't want, you know, in the past, I did not want a medical diagnosis to go with my feelings. Like, oh, well, if you're going to say that you're so messed up that you can't be fixed, then doesn't that mean there's going to have to be a diagnosis with that? Well, I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted, because of the stigma surrounding mental health and mental illness and things like that. So even though I contradicted myself and I was so specially broken that I couldn't be fixed, I didn't want a medical diagnosis, which had prevented me in the past from pursuing therapy, from being honest with therapists, the whole nine. But this time, I said to myself, if I really am that fucked up, that I have a medical diagnosis to go with it, well then I can't do anything about it if I don't know it's there, right? So I decided to be brutally honest with my therapist. And wouldn't you know it, the only thing that she diagnosed me with, well, it's not the only thing, it's 3 things. Generalized anxiety disorder, depression, and complex PTSD. And so I say the only things, like, it wasn't bipolar disorder, which I'm not saying anything negative. I'm not trying to imply any negativity or inherent negativity to diagnosed medical disorders such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or anything like that. I'm not trying to attach any negative connotation to those things. I was afraid that I had them, but I'm not trying to say that those are inherently bad, or that anxiety, depression, and complex PTSD are better or more treatable or anything like that. So when my therapist was like, yeah, you have, we're going to call this complex PTSD. Not we're going to call this, those are my words, not hers. This is generalized anxiety disorder coupled with depression and complex PTSD. And I had been told by another therapist that was one of my clients when I was a hairstylist. She told me that I had PTSD several years previous to me pursuing therapy on my own, and I kind of laughed at her. Not at her, but I was like, no, I don't have PTSD. No one's ever shot at me. And at this juncture, I would just like to state that PTSD is not only for veterans. PTSD can happen to anyone. So I'm going to give you the definition of PTSD. Post-traumatic stress. So PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD, PTS, post-traumatic stress, is stress relating to an event, stress relating to an event. Post-traumatic stress disorder is stress relating to an event that lasts longer than 30 days. That's it. That's the only difference between post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. Everybody wants to complicate what constitutes PTSD, and the definition is actually very simple. It is not just for people that got shot at. It is not just for veterans. It is not just for people who have, scary jobs. Anyone can get PTSD. So PTSD would be from one terrifying or traumatic experience, and then complex PTSD is from a series of events or a prolonged, extended, over a span of several months to several years, exposure to trauma. Oh, also, this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills powder bronzer in the shade Tawny that I'm using as an eyeshadow. What else is new? So, why your mental health matters other than obvious reasons, like your day-to-day life and the ability to go through it without, and actually enjoy your life, is I think one of the primary reasons. The point of life is not just simply to exist. If we're going to be here, it might as well be enjoyable. Good Lord. And poor mental health can take away your ability to even be just be happy in existing. And also the point of life is not to struggle and suffer, there's plenty of people out there that want to believe that, and I strongly encourage you to take a second look, but I can't make you. But just because some people believe that, the point of life is to suffer, or suffering gives life meaning or something like that, doesn't mean that you have to think that way or that you have to go along with it. So, and there are just so many things that you can do to improve your mental health. And then there's the medical aspects of having really unhealthy, a poor mental health can directly relate to medical issues, to your actual physical health being diminished. For example, a couple months ago, so I have Hashimoto's, and sometimes Hashimoto's can lead to other issues, but a couple months ago, I had a cortisol test done to see if I may have Cushing's syndrome or Cushing's disease. And I don't, but my cortisol was too high. Not high enough that I have Cushing's disease or Cushing syndrome, but high enough that it's unhealthy, high enough that it is negatively impacting my health. And my doctor told me, this is environmental. This is not your body. This is something you are being exposed to. Something is stressing you out. And she told me, she's like, if you don't know what it is, you need to find out what it is. If you know what it is, you got to do something about it. And this was just recently. So I've been in therapy for 2 years. Just recently, my doctor told me, you're too stressed. You're just too stressed. So you got to fix it. And I'm reading a book right now called The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body and the Healing of Trauma by, oh God, I hope I don't destroy this man's name, Bessel van der Kolk. This book right here. I am 52 pages into it, and it's over 300 pages. And it's also, I will say right now, just the 52 pages in, it's a heavy book. It's a very heavy book, but it directly discusses the actual effects of trauma and stress on your physical person. So it definitely affects mental health, directly affects your physical health. And I mean, vice versa as well, but we know that. We know that poor physical health can impact your mental health. This is the Juvia's Place I Am Magic Concealer in the shade 21. So, I feel like I mean, and I'm not saying anybody's opinion here is incorrect, by the way, this is just mine. But I've heard a lot of people talking about therapy and how it's supposed to fix you, or you're supposed to feel better, or, you know, like what the point of therapy even is. And one of the things about therapy that I have found to be extremely beneficial to me is just having somebody to listen to, not listen to, excuse me, having someone to talk to who is truly objective and who can be, you know, the voice of reason when I am not exhibiting logic, or, you know, just can break the cycle. Because I have been and am still working on it, but I don't have the best inner dialogue when it comes to talking. The way I speak to myself is not the greatest. It's getting better. It is definitely better. I think it's probably better now than it's ever been in my entire life. But it still has room to improve. And I would not have that objective. I wouldn't have that objective second party were it not for therapy. Because, like, I want to be clear and say it's great to have friends that are there for you and that care about you and that want to listen to you and help in the way that they can. But it is not your friend's job to diagnose you. It is not your friend's job. You know, your friend has their own stress in their own life, and you do not just get to sit there and trap them with yours. And I don't mean to say that was probably a poor choice of words. Trapping someone with your mental health is probably not the nicest way I can put that. It's just that some people cannot help you carry the weight of your emotional burdens. And the point of therapy is to help you repack them, unpack them, repack them, and then to also decide, kind of like spring cleaning, like, okay, this coping mechanism got you through this awful time. Is it the best coping mechanism, or should we put it down for a new one? Or do we have to carry this with us anymore at all? Because let's be honest, the tool you might use in an emergency may not be the best tool to keep carrying with you, you know? Like, just because it got you out of that very, 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 very bad place doesn't mean that it is the best one to keep carrying around in your day-to-day life. And it doesn't mean that it's the best one for the next point in your life where you need a coping mechanism. So therapy helps you put down the ones that got you through the bad time but are not healthy, and gives you new ones that are. And like I said, it helps you sort out, do I even need to keep this at all? Like, does this still have a place in my life? Do I still need it? And I also want to be clear, like, sometimes you don't need it, but you're just not ready to put it down yet. That's also okay. And that is also something else that therapy is supposed to help you with. Therapy doesn't fix you. Therapy is not going to fix you. And also, please don't think of yourself as broken. Nothing gets better when you think of yourself as broken. I understand that sometimes that is just where your mind goes. Trust me when I say, I already said I have not always had the best inner dialogue when it comes to the way I speak to myself. But I am trying to work on that, and I've actively been trying to work on that for over a year now. So just be gentle with yourself, you know, be gentle with yourself. Try not to think of yourself as broken. Okay, are these wings the most even and symmetrical they could be? No, they're not, but we're going to run with it. There's just a point at which you do have to walk away, lest you end up like Amy Winehouse, which, you know, is a whole look in and of itself, and not the one we're going for today. So sorry about it. I would also like to point out that working on your mental health is not less work. In fact, I think it's probably more work. It's just that one leads to staying exactly where you are, which you've already determined is not the best place for you. And one leads to the potential for better. Notice how I said potential for better, because I'm not you, and to a certain extent, it's case by case basis. And in some cases, it is about your commitment to your own mental health. I realize there are certain things that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to be able to tell you what they are. But I do want to be clear and say that there's just a point at which some things are as good as they can get. And then there's a point that it is about what you are willing to do. Like, what are you willing to bring to the table for yourself? And so it is not in any capacity at all less work. Not even remotely. All right, I did this off camera because it's a lot. I used 300. I used the MAC Liquid Last 24-hour waterproof liner in the shade Point Black. This guy. The Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid liner. And this only comes in black, I'm pretty sure. Is there a shade name? There ain't. And then the NYX, too fucking long of a name. Slide on, glide on, stay on. Definitely a turn on. Waterproof Extreme Shine eyeliner. This eyeliner is so good the name had to be this long. Therapy and working on your mental health is not less work than just leaving it where it is, right? And I want to be clear on that. It's not less work. It's not. In fact, it might be more. In fact, I think it is more. I'm pretty sure it's more. And it is kind of like a daily practice, if you will. And even if you won't. The way I think of working on my mental health is kind of like a car with really great horsepower, but really terrible traction. It doesn't matter how much energy the engine is producing if it cannot get the power to the ground. It's literally when you see a car just sitting there just spinning its tires, not going anywhere. That engine is creating the horsepower, and it has the potential for great power. But if it cannot get the power to the ground, then all that energy is lost. It doesn't matter so much how much crank horsepower you have. No one cares about that if the horsepower you get to the ground is none. This is about getting your power to the ground. The amount of effort is the same. It's just that the outcome is different. I use a lot of metaphors for myself, and I tend to share them once I found something that's helped me figure out a concept that was previously difficult for me. So if you don't appreciate metaphors, I do apologize, but you done found yourself in the wrong place, friendo. And I mean, it's one of those things, as with a lot of things, you get in what you put in. You know, if you put nothing in, you're not getting much out. But the more you put in, the more you will get out. And you do at a certain point have to just believe that. And I say that being fully aware how much easier it is said than done. That was also the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer in the shade Tawny that I used as bronzer. I'm going to go in really quickly with this Rituel Rare, what is this called? Rare Light Cream Luminizer in the shade Halo. Another great thing about working on your mental health is it really does allow you to see what you have actually struggled with, because I feel like a lot of people, and this is a normal thing too, is, you know, your brain will try and normalize things that have happened to you so that you don't break, you know, so that you don't lose your mind. But in doing that, in trying to normalize certain things, it will normalize things that are not normal for you to have experienced. And it will tell you that, you know, maybe you deserved it, or you contributed to it, or it is somehow your suffering is your fault. And I'm not saying that maybe it isn't, but that knowledge is not the most helpful to you. And that is probably not the best place for you to stop. Well, it was my fault. Well, I contributed. Well, I kind of asked for it. Well, you know, what did I think was going to happen? None of those thoughts are actually good for you. And if you find yourself in a loop of that, please understand that you have to break that loop. And maybe that's something I'll talk about at a later date, but you do have to stop blaming yourself. There's a difference between holding yourself accountable and blaming yourself. And you never, ever deserve terrible things to happen to you. Terrible things may happen to you, but you do not deserve terrible things. You do not deserve suffering. You do not deserve sadness. You do not deserve abuse. So I want to be very clear in saying those things, but your brain may tell you past a certain point, oh, well, you know, we contributed, because it also, that mindset of, well, if I can find out how I contributed to it, then I can prevent it from happening in the future, which may be true, but also may also be a trauma response that lets you then continue to say, well, it was my fault. And also leads you to start trying to predict trauma in the future, which is just going to detract from your day-to-day life. It's just going to detract from your well-being. Another great thing about improving your own mental health is once you have seen and you're fully aware and cognizant of the things that you've been through, the struggles that you have been through, the ones that you have been through and prevailed, even though it may not seem that way, you have beaten every one of your worst days. You're still here. So it didn't win. You did. You just have to clean up the mess afterwards. But once you start to be able to see the severity of the situations that you've been through, and you are fully cognizant of how they affected you, how they impacted you, and the things that you deal with now because of them, it allows you, one of the greatest tools that I think a human being can possess is empathy. It is important, and I cannot understate how important, nor can I accurately state how important it is to have empathy for people everywhere. And I mean primarily people who look, sound, feel, think, and behave and believe things that look nothing like what you do, okay? You've got to be able to be empathetic to people who are experiencing things you will never experience. Just because you can't experience it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to acknowledge that you can't even fathom how bad that is. And you can only do that when you start realizing how bad what you've been through is. And I'm not asking anybody to victimize themselves or climb up on the cross. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But I am absolutely telling you that without acknowledging your own trauma, you will continue to disacknowledge the trauma of people around you. I don't even know if disacknowledge is a word. Don't take away from the point. The point is, while you are negating trauma, you are not healing from it. While you are negating somebody else's trauma, you are making it worse. Trauma never gets better the deeper you push it. Monsters do not get smaller in the dark. You have got to bring these things to light, and you have got to work on them. But it also will help you help other people, because maybe you can't possibly understand what somebody has been through, but you can understand that you don't understand, and that you are looking right at them and you see what they have been through, and it is terrible. And then you can help them, and then you can make change. Actionable change is possible, but it is only possible when we begin to empathize with people who we have nothing in common with. And if your mental health is shit, you will not be able to do that. I kind of think of that as something like, if you were checking your internet bandwidth and it was trash, or your computer memory and it was garbage, you would be seeking out what was eating up your bandwidth, what was taking up your memory. You would be seeking that out. You would fix it because you suffer from it immediately. You can't stream, you can't play video games, you can't watch TV, you can't listen to music. You would suffer from it immediately, and so you would seek about finding a solution. Your mental health is the same. That shit is eating up space in your brain, and it is taking away from your daily life, and you can do something differently. It does require work. Like I said, it's not less work. In fact, it's probably more, but it is valuable work, and it is work that should be done regardless of how long it takes. Okay, I went ahead and put on my lipstick because obviously I can't talk and do that at the same time. And I used MAC Bated Breath Love Me lipstick. I feel like part of some people's hesitancy on improving their mental health or changing their mindset, I feel like it comes with a fair amount, potentially, of like guilt or fear of changing. And that's like, kind of the idea like, well, if I change something, if I change the way I think about things, change my behavior, change my boundaries and what I will and won't allow for myself and others, then doesn't that make it obvious that I was making a mistake? And I just want to say that a mistake is a mistake, regardless of whether you acknowledge it or not. A mistake doesn't stop being a mistake because you just refuse to say that it is. It is a mistake from the moment it was made until forever. It's just whether you can learn from it, and be better. Refusing to acknowledge a mistake doesn't make it not a mistake. It's a mistake. You are just refusing to acknowledge it's a mistake. you know, and changing your beliefs, changing your mindset, changing the way that you see the world, the things you will allow for yourself, the things you'll allow for others, changing your own behavior as an admission of guilt somehow. Don't say those things to yourself. Don't think of it that way. Sometimes it is a mindset game. I mean, everything is a mindset game, but that in particular, don't say those things to yourself. Like, oh, well, if I do this differently, then that's admitting I was wrong before. Well, you can only do what you can with what you have where you are. And when you know better, you do better. And that's fine. Everybody makes mistakes. The goal is not avoiding making mistakes or falling into negative thought patterns or poor mental health. That's not the goal. It's just trying to do better is the goal. Trying to be better is the goal. And also, if anyone in your life points out to you when you change your mindset, your beliefs, your behavior, things like this, if anyone in your life tries to make that a bad thing, you need to ditch them like tomorrow. Or maybe not jump straight to ditching them. Maybe have a very civil adult conversation that includes, you know, I don't appreciate the way you made me feel. And if they can do better, then give them the opportunity to. But also be careful continuing to give somebody the opportunity to make the same mistake over and over again, because an apology without changed behavior is manipulation, and that is bad for your mental health. So anyone that's holding you back from making the changes in your life that you feel you need to make, believe you need to make, think you might need to make, want to make, but are too afraid to, or don't know where to start, just start. Just pick a place and start, and your mental health is a great place to start. Because if your mental health is improved, the rest of your life tends to improve with it. And I kind of want to fit this in here just for your knowledge and just for you to kind of hold and see how it makes you feel and to like use in your everyday life. When you're facing two different thought patterns here, and that's one, if I change, then that admits that I was wrong, or if I change, that admits that that realizes that I'm capable of improving. Choose the kinder truth. It's something that my therapist has said to me a lot, is choose the kinder truth. I also kind of want to interject here that my therapist has an entire blog post about this, and if you just Google Jillian Hopkins, and that's Jillian with a J, the kinder truth, you'll find it. It's super easy to find, and it's a really quick, super like uplifting read. And just choose the kinder truth, and that's so you're between changing my behavior and my mindset admits that I was wrong. Changing my behavior and my mindset shows that I can improve. The kinder truth is that you can improve. So choose the kinder truth. Be nice to yourself. The way you talk to yourself matters, and it directly relates to your mental health and is a reflection of your mental health. I'm going to make a whole nother video about the things that I've said to myself and the way that I talk to myself and the things that I have changed about that. Like I said in the beginning, I do really want to focus more on talking about my mental health, because part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up is I have found that talking about these things makes it easier for me. But talking about these things gives it a face. I feel like when terms are floated like mental health awareness and representation and all of these things, what does that mean? Well, that to me means having a face to go with an idea. And I know it to be true that people can change the ways that they've acted, the things that they believe, and the mindsets that they hold when faced with an actual person in front of them that they deeply care about, that's telling them, oh, you think mental health is stupid. Oh, you think that everybody that goes to therapy, there's something wrong with them. Oh, you think changing is a mission of guilt or anger. Okay, well, you care about me, so I just want you to know that my mental health has been severely impacted by others in my past and things that I have been through. And when you look at me and mock or belittle mental health awareness, I just want you to know that that makes me feel mocked and belittled, and it doesn't make me feel safe speaking to you about these things, which doesn't make me feel safe speaking to you at all. So it would really mean a lot to me if you could be open to certain conversations and maybe doing a little bit of research from your own, I'd be happy to point you in the direction. When people in your personal life see what you have been through, not all of them, but a lot of them, and the people that really truly do care about you are going to see the things that you've been through and realize they have a face with this amorphous idea like mental health awareness. That's why I want to talk about it, because I'm strong enough now to talk about the things that I've been through. I wasn't before, and I don't even know that I really was when I started making YouTube videos. This was always the goal, is to talk about the things that I've been through so that some people that care about me may care about others, because they can put a face to the idea. I also firmly believe that once you have figured out something, you should share that with other people that are trying to figure it out. You know, and I haven't figured everything out by any stretch of the imagination, nor would I ever say that I have. Nor do I ever think that I will. But I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life trying my damnedest to just do better when the opportunity arises. And so that is why I speak about mental health, my mental health. You know, when you know better, you do better. And I didn't know some of the things I was perpetuating. I didn't know some of the things I was perpetuating on myself, let alone others. And in seeing and acknowledging the things that I have been through has allowed me to see and acknowledge things that other people have been through that I previously was like, suck it up. What do you think life is? Oh, well, you know, life is hard. And so you deal with it. And refusing to acknowledge the things that could absolutely be changed, because that's just what life is, man. Get over it. That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't even help me. It's just that this means a lot to me. It's also, I am strong enough now to deal with anybody who would minimize what I've been through or mock or belittle me for wanting to improve. I've gotten to a point now where I can see that behavior as a direct reflection of someone else and not at all to do with me. So if you were thinking about leaving an ugly comment, I mean, go ahead. If that's what you watch this video and feel like you need to do, then that's, you know, that's on you. But yeah, I think mental health is supremely important, and this is not the only time I'm going to be speaking about it. I'm going to continue reading this book. I have no idea how long it's going to take me. It's pretty heavy. That being said, when I'm done with it, I am probably going to make a video about it. I don't mean to be harsh or cruel or rude. If there's anything that I've said that you take issue with, I would love to have a conversation with you about that, as long as it is a conversation and not an attack. Like I said, I don't mean to be harsh. It's just that I am quite blunt, and it takes brain power for me to try and water things down. And I've also found that you either like me or you don't. And if you don't like me, you're not going to like the watered down version of me. So I'm just going to stop giving it. Anyway, I say all of this to say, please make your mental health a priority. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help as many people as you could if you were helping yourself first. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Please do something about your mental health, especially if you know that it is poor. If you know that it is bad and you are in a bad way, start somewhere. Start somewhere. Please don't stay there, okay? You may have developed some really terrible coping mechanisms, some things that may have happened to you that have forever changed your view on the world. And I'm not here to say that they shouldn't, but I am here to tell you that it is possible to make things better and that you deserve it. You deserve good things. You deserve to be happy. And I don't know, maybe, you know, you don't have somebody that tells you these things in your life. I hope I'm not the only one to tell you that, but in the event that I am, you deserve good things. You deserve happiness, and they are achievable. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to stop rambling, because I already feel like this video is going to be 9 million years long, and I don't think there's anything I can do about it. And I have to edit it, so I'm going to put all the products that I use in the description box down below. Also with my social media, you know, as always. And yeah, guys, if there's anything that you want to know more, if there's some subjects that you would like to hear me talk about, Please feel free to leave them in the comments. Any questions or ideas on future videos, also leave those in the comments. Please feel free to reach out to me on any of my social medias that I leave in the box below. And yeah. So, I'll see you guys next time. Whenever that next time might be. Choose the kind of truth, okay? You can do it. I believe in you. I know that's super cheesy. I really like super cheesy things, though. I'll see you later. Why do you make that weird-ass noise? It's kind of annoying. I just annoyed my own self. What else is new? Hey, you are an unbelievable cockbag. Do you know how rude you are? I know you know that you're being a dick. I know that you know it. So if you could just fucking stop, that would be great. You'll get what you want. You little fucking asshole. God, why is this worse?